office. I remember it was Fort Lauderdale because I was living down in the area at that time. They plugged me into the Fort Lauderdale Prudential office, which had about 60 agents. And before you know it, I was speaking to Miami, then it was West Palm Beach, then it was Tampa, then it was this, then they had their regional meeting, which was up in Boston, which was all the East Coast. That plugged me in all the East Coast, and then I did Central Region, then I did Eastern Region. At the time, this is no longer the case for Prudential, but at the time, they had 340 districts. That kept me busy for a year by getting into that one first district and asking the person to refer me to the next, and you will understand their system. I can share with you how Prudential and the real estate system worked. With Prudential, you had what was called a district manager who typically had 50 to 60 agents, and then he answered to what was called an RVP, a regional vice president, who would have maybe 3 or 4 states. And then it was an AVP who had the whole big giant, 10 or 12 states. And you worked your way all the way up to senior vice president. They eventually had me speaking at their annual meetings. And if you ever saw my Grand Ole Opry clips where I'm standing on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry in front, that was Prudential's annual meeting. And they hired me twice. They hired me on one Wednesday on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry to speak to the agents that were in attendance, and they brought me back exactly a week later, same stage, same film crew, to speak to all the managers in Prudential. It was their annual managers meeting. And that started with speaking to one Prudential office, and it's like a spider web. Then another one, another one, another one. But you have to remember to keep asking for referrals and try to figure out their system. And if you ask people, they will tell you. Where are the big numbers? How do I get myself booked? And most of the people, if they like you, if you did a good job for them, are your willing partner. They would love to share the information. So that's another target market that is extremely easy to penetrate. Every city in the country is going to have a list of life insurance companies, and I can tell you the ones that you're most likely to get booked at. You will find, if insurance becomes your market that you intend to penetrate, Prudential will hire you. New York Life tends to hire speakers on a regular basis. Mass Mutual tends to hire speakers on a regular basis. The Guardian tends to hire speakers on a regular basis. The New England will hire speakers on a regular basis. Any major city in this country is going to have all of those offices, and if you can just get into one, you have entered the system. And if you get one person on your side, again, talking about insurance because I have so much background with it, anytime you get into an insurance, for example, were you to call, his name is Kyle Williamson, were you to call Kyle Williamson in Orlando, and he invited you to come in and speak to one of his meetings, they currently call them managing partners. They keep changing the name of them. They used to be district managers, then they became general agents, then they became something else, and now they all call themselves managing partners. They keep changing their names. But Kyle's the managing partner, and every managing partner in an insurance group has what they call a study group. This is kind of mandatory. This is de rigueur in the industry. And a study group will be 6 or 7 other managing partners of equal size agencies. So he's got 150 people. He's going to be in a study group with 5 or 6 other people that have the larger agencies of 150 people. If you get into an agency that has 60 people, that managing partner is going to be connected to 6 or 7 other. That study group is going to be mid-sized groups that are working and trying to make their agencies bigger. But you get into one, you're directly connected to 6 or 7. It's called a study group. These are people that are good buddies. They hang out, they get together 2 or 3 times a year, they golf together, they talk on the phone all the time, they're emailing all the time. This is part of the culture of the life insurance industry where these guys are kind of bonded together. We're kind of like what I'm talking about you guys should be doing, helping each other move forward, trading ideas, growing their agencies together. And every life insurance company has that kind of culture. New York Life does this, Prudential does this, Mass Mutual does this. They all bond together like that. So if you get into one of these agencies, you are, if you do a good job, immediately into 6 or 7 others. And each of those guys are connected to people in their town. I analogize it to a spider web. You got to start somewhere, but you get into one, all of us are directly or indirectly connected to all of the others. Let me clarify something for you. When I talk about insurance, I don't know how much you know about insurance, but there are essentially 2 types or kinds of insurance. You have the life insurance companies, the New York Life, Prudential, Met, those kinds of life insurance companies. On the other side, you have what are called P&C companies, which stands for property and casualty. For example, State Farm is a P&C company, Farmers Insurance is a P&C company, Nationwide a P&C. P&C tend to emphasize sort of automobile insurance, homeowners insurance, sometimes health insurance. They all sell life insurance, but they're not life insurance companies. They sell life insurance, but that's not their ballywhack. Their emphasis is on what they call P&C, property and casualty. They are structured quite differently than the life insurance. The life insurance companies typically have large captive agencies, 50 or 60 agents that are now calling themselves financial planners, but they go out and sell primarily financial instruments, life insurance, annuities, stocks and bonds, pension plans, etc. They are selling financial instruments. P&C are the guys you'd go to like State Farm. And here's how they are structured. A State Farm office, the closest one here, I guess, is about 3 or 4 miles away. If you walked into that office, you're going to have one State Farm agent who will have 4 or 5 support staff, people that are answering the phone, writing the policies, doing all the bit work. Just one agent, though. They don't have, like New York Life, that'll have 150 agents in one office. They got one agent. But in the state of Florida, they will have 300 or 400. A guy named Marion Black is the state of Florida's vice president, and they have meetings every year. So if you were to go to call one of the State Farm agents and say, who is your regional manager? When do you have your regional meetings? Who should I be calling? The person you'd be calling and sending your materials to would be Marion Black. And if you impress Marion Black and he has you come in and speak to the 300 or 400 State Farm agents in Florida and he likes you, Marion's going to connect you to the 49 other states that have regional managers, and that's how you get into the P&C companies. They're not as easy to get into as the life companies, which are in the town you live in. You know, you could drive over to the New York Life office from here and give a presentation, whereas the meeting they have every year for State Farm might be in Tallahassee, which would be a couple hours drive for you. But they do have meetings, but they have regional meetings. They're structured a little bit different. So if you're calling Nationwide or Farmers Insurance or any of the P&C companies, you're probably talking to 1 or 2 agents. They're going to say, no, we just don't have enough people to have meetings. So don't take that as a no. Who's the regional VP? You know, when you have your region, who's putting those meetings together? Because that's the person you really want to talk to. And that's the kind of answer you're going to get if you were to call a Nationwide or a State Farm office. And I'll tell you right now, State Farm agents are wealthy. Most of those spend money like water. It's remarkable how much money some of those folks make. They run and operate their own offices, and they are all very well off. So if you have product, or if they have a relatively large office where they have 10 staff, they may very well approach you and say, what would you charge to come in for a half day or a full day and just work with my staff? A company like State Farm is the kind of company that would do that. So if you end up in Tallahassee speaking to the regional meeting, don't think that's all there is to it. You know, make your announcement that you do personal coaching, that you do, half day or full day training, and in a company like State Farm, there will be a number that approach you because these guys are swimming in bucks.